Okay, okay, so perfect. So, what do you understand by chemical bonding? So, we'll be starting our first lecture. We'll be starting chemical bonding. So, what do you understand by chemical bonding? Bonding का मतलब क्या होता है? पहले chemical bonding को छोड़ दो. What does bonding mean?
When two or more things combine together.
Exactly. Okay, when two or more things combine together, that's called bonding. And why, if you talk about atoms or if you talk about elements, why would they need to combine together? उनको क्या मसला है उनको साथ में क्यों why do they need to combine together?
To complete their last shell.
Yes, exactly. So, in simple terms, chemical bonding जो होती है ना, it occurs because elements have to gain stability. Okay? No element wants its outermost shell to be incomplete. ठीक है? Incomplete का मतलब ये होता है कि not necessarily incomplete, लेकिन ना उसके अंदर अगर incomplete, देखो दो चीजें होती हैं. या तो उस एलिमेंट का outermost shell जो है it should be complete, ठीक है, और it should have paired electrons. सही है. ऐसा ना हो कि उसमें unpaired electrons पड़े हों, लेकिन it should be complete. पहला क्राइटेरिया होता है it should be complete, right? So in order to complete the outermost shell, in order to have full valence shells, elements will bond together. सही है. And different types के elements होते हैं, they demonstrate different types of bonding, right? So for example, we have आप लोगों को आवाज आ रही?
Yes.
Okay, okay, मुझे लगा मेरा mic नहीं चल रहा. Fair. So different types of elements have demonstrate different types of bonding. ठीक है. So हमारे पास generally categories कौन कौन सी होती हैं elements की? माहम, कौन कौन से different types के elements होते
Metals and non-metals.
हैं? Good, good, very good. ठीक है. So we have metallic elements, we have non-metallic elements. ठीक है. Broadly यही दो categories हैं. So simple से rule है. सही है. एक आप लोगों ने याद रखना है. When two non-metals will bond, उनके बीच में जो bonding होती है, that is covalent bonding. ठीक है. So covalent bonding जो होती है, it occurs between non-metallic elements. If one non-metallic element and one metallic element will bond together, they'll have an ionic bond. Okay, they'll form an ionic bond. And when two metallic elements will bond together, so that will be known as metallic bond. सही है. अच्छा, अभी जो coordinate covalent bond है, say I don't know if it's part of the syllabus. I think IGCSE में इन्होंने include किया है. But coordinate covalent bonds का ना बिल्कुल end में discuss करेंगे. ये बहुत एक interesting concept है. So, हमारा जो है ना bonding, it's basically part of Unit 2 of IGCSE Chemistry. And आज के lecture के अंदर we'll be going over different types of bonding. So we'll discuss ions and ionic bonds, uh, covalent bonds, giant covalent structures, metallic bonds. सही, so basically चार different types के bonds होते हैं, and we'll be going over these bonds. ठीक है? Sorry, three different types of bonds: ionic, covalent, and metallic. Right? So first of all, let's go over covalent bond. So covalent bonding किन दो elements के बीच में होती है? किन दो types के elements के बीच में? Maham?
Metal and non-metal.
Covalent.
Two non-metals.
Exactly. Two non-metallic elements. ठीक है? So covalent bonding जो होती है, it occurs between two non-metallic elements, and covalent bonds are formed by sharing of electrons to create molecules. So we have individual atoms, and when atoms share their electrons with other atoms, they will form molecules. And through sharing of electrons, a covalent bond is formed. Some examples of covalent compounds include water, carbon dioxide, methane, and oxygen. Now, if you see all of the atoms which are in this molecule, H2O, जो है ना, this is a molecule, and it is made up of individual atoms. So atoms will combine together to form molecules, right? अब जो water है, इसके अंदर दो different types के atoms है, right? So we have hydrogen and oxygen. The two hydrogen atoms bind to one oxygen atom to form water molecule, right? Similarly, carbon dioxide here, the two oxygen atoms bind with carbon atom to form carbon dioxide. Then we have four hydrogen atoms bonding with one carbon atom to form methane, and we have two oxygen atoms bonding together to form oxygen gas. सही है? अब जो ये जो साथ में स्ट्रक्चर बना हुआ है, दिस इज नोन एज, कैन एनीवन टेल मी कि इस डायग्राम को क्या कहते हैं? डू यू हैव एनी आइडिया व्हाट दिस डायग्राम इज कॉल्ड?
This diagram,
They're called an electrical configuration.
Yeah, it's called that as well, and it's also known as the dot and cross diagram. Because simply at IGCSE level, it's
oh,
the dot and cross diagram. So yeah, so I'll just show you how covalent bonding occurs. Okay, I'll just open up my whiteboard. अच्छा, so रफी, अजलान, आपको मेरा व्हाइट बोर्ड नजर आ रहा है आप सबको?
जी,
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So let's say कि we want to form a covalent bond. Say we want to know the structure of a covalent compound, right? So Maham, can you just give me an example of a covalent compound? Any covalent compound?
Carbon dioxide.
Perfect. Carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide का जो chemical symbol है, it's CO2. सही है? अब how did this molecule of carbon dioxide form? Right? So we need to know, okay, what is the electronic configuration of carbon dioxide, right, in a molecule of carbon dioxide. So earlier I told you guys कि जब bonding होती है ना, so elements bond to complete their outermost shells. ठीक है? ताकि उनकी जो valence shells slash outermost shells हैं, they are completed. So carbon, can anyone tell me how many? So basically जब ये bonding की जब diagrams बनाते हैं ना, so हमेशा outermost shells ही आप लोगों ने बनाने, ठीक है? Because the outermost shells are the ones which are concerned with the bond, right? The bond making में जो part लेते हैं ना, those are only the outermost shells. The अंदर वाले shells जो होते हैं ना, वो part नहीं लेते हैं bond. The outermost shells होते हैं, they are involved in bond. So अजलान, आपको can you just tell me कि कार्बन के outermost shell में कितने इलेक्ट्रॉन हैं?
How many electrons are in carbon?
Yeah, in outermost shell of carbon, valence shell of carbon.
Um, two.
No, ऐसे नहीं बताओ. Periodic table खोलो, उसको देख के बताओ. Open the periodic table. अच्छा रफी, कार्बन किस ग्रुप के एलिमेंट है? Any idea?
6.
Mike, you need to unmute your mic.
जी, आप क्या बोल रहे हैं? आपकी आवाज कट रही है.
हाँ, so I'm asking कि अब आ रही है? अब आ रही है आवाज?
जी,
हाँ, so कार्बन
जी,
किस ग्रुप का एलिमेंट है?
6.
Okay, so carbon is not group 6. I think carbon is group 4. Wait.
ओ यस, कार्बन इसलिए ग्रुप 4 है क्योंकि मुझे याद है कि कार्बन ना कोवेलेंट करता है ना वो करता है, वो शेयर करता है.
Yeah, ठीक है. So
जी,
carbon is a group
ग्रुप 4
4
है.
element, right? Carbon is a group 4 element. अच्छा माहम, if carbon is a group 4 element, how many electrons should it have in the valence shell?
2,
No,
4.
4. Why 4? क्योंकि जो ग्रुप नंबर
Um,
होता है it represents the number of valence electrons. ठीक है? The number of valence electrons. So it's a group 4 element. That's why it should have 4 electrons in the outermost shell. So अब इन 4 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स को क्या मैं सही बना रहा हूँ, देखना मुझे कोई बताया जरा, मैं इन 4 इलेक्ट्रॉन सही बना रहा हूँ, इस तरह बनाते हैं, सही बनाया मैंने?
नहीं।
ठीक है, अच्छा। अजलान रफी ने कहा ये सही नहीं बनाया मैंने, व्हाट डू यू नो, व्हाट्स द मिस्टेक इस चीज़ के अंदर, क्या मैंने किया मिस्टेक यहाँ पे?
There should be an electron at. They shouldn't be in pairs of two right now. There should be one
हम्म,
at every 90-degree angle.
एग्जैक्टली, ठीक है, देयर शुड बी वन एट अ टाइम। पहले हम जब इलेक्ट्रॉन्स को जब भी हम लाइक इलेक्ट्रॉन्स को यहाँ लाइक रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं ना, सो वी फर्स्ट जस्ट ड्रॉ देम सिंगली, ठीक है, एक एक सिंगल इलेक्ट्रॉन्स पहले बनाते हैं, ठीक है, एंड देन वी स्टार्ट पेयरिंग। So we have four unpaired electrons in the outermost shell of carbon atom, right? Now, since we want to form carbon dioxide, so let's see how many electrons are there in oxygen's outermost shell. So, Maham, oxygen के outermost shell में कितने electrons होंगे? Let's draw an oxygen atom here. Oxygen किस group का element है?
2,
No. Oxygen
1,
is oxygen is
6.
not oxygen is not group, देखो, oxygen is not group 1 and 2, oxygen is group 6, ठीक है? You just need to see it from the periodic table. इसमें याद नहीं करना होता, periodic table is normally given. It's a group 6 element, right? So oxygen being a group 6 element, so इसके अंदर पे outermost shell में कितने electrons हो जाएंगे वहां?
6.
Exactly, ठीक है, very good. So 1 पहले single बनाने हैं, ठीक है? You just have to draw them single first. 1 2 3 4, right? Now we need 6, so now we'll start pairing them. So 5 and then 6, right? Okay. So अब मुझे कोई बताए अजलान कि how many unpaired electrons does oxygen have? Uh, Azlan, can you hear me?
Voice cut out.
How many unpaired electrons does oxygen have? 2, right? So there's 1 and then there's 2. So in order to form a covalent bond with carbon, it will share its electrons with the unpaired electron of the outermost shell of carbon, right? So this electron can be shared with this electron. See, now the arrow, don't confuse it with the arrow. Okay, it's not being transferred. Okay, transfer नहीं हो रहा है इलेक्ट्रॉन यहाँ से, like इससे उतर कर कार्बन के पास नहीं जा रहा. It's staying with oxygen, but it's just being shared, right? And this oxygen can be shared. This electron can be shared with this electron, right? But what's the problem here? Can anyone tell me अब problem क्या है? ये दो तो share हो गए, सही है? So like these two are shared, these two are not shared.
It's still going to be two which are unpaired.
क्या क्या? Can you repeat
There's still
yourself?
going to be two electrons which are unpaired.
Exactly, exactly. These two electrons
ये
of carbon are unpaired, right? ये जो दो
जब दो
electrons हैं अभी तक.
मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
अच्छा, आप पूछ रहे थे कि मसला क्या है, तो मैं कह रहा हूँ कि ये दो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स अब बाकी रह गए, तो इसके लिए एक और ऑक्सीजन चाहिए होगा ताकि इन दो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स को ऑक्युपाई कर ले,
Exactly,
तो इसलिए वो
exactly. Excellent,
CO2 है।
excellent, excellent. So यहाँ पे basically oxygen एक और चाहिए होगा, ठीक है? ये तो सिंपल सी बात है, सब समझ आ गया? अजलान, माहम, आपको भी समझ आ गया?
Yes.
G.
ठीक है। So there is a need for another oxygen atom so that the oxygen atom can the other oxygen atom, the second oxygen atom can share its electrons with this carbon, and together they can form carbon dioxide. And you can see this carbon dioxide in the picture which I'm about to show you. How does a molecule of carbon dioxide look like? So we have carbon dioxide right there. So you can see, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a carbon atom at the center. You can see we have this carbon atom at the center, and then we have two oxygen atoms, okay, which are sharing their electrons with carbon. So carbon की जो electrons हैं, they are being represented by a cross, right? And oxygen की जो electrons हैं, they are being represented by a dot, okay, a sphere. So these red dots. So electron is sharing its two electrons. Sorry, oxygen is sharing its two electrons with carbon, and carbon is sharing its two electrons with oxygen. So now they're both happy. They're both happy in a way. Okay, now neither of them have unpaired electrons. क्या ऑक्सीजन के पास कोई भी अनपेयर्ड इलेक्ट्रॉन है? नहीं. they all of these electrons are paired. कार्बन के भी सारे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स पेयर्ड हैं, एंड ऑक्सीजन के भी सारे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स पेयर्ड हैं. अच्छा, can anyone tell me how many electrons should be there in the valence shell? Maham?
In which shell?
Yeah. Aslan, valence shell में कितना होना चाहिए?
Which shell?
The valence shell, the outermost shell. There should be 8 electrons. Okay? There should be 8 electrons in the outermost shell of every atom. सही है? So if if the atom has 8 electrons in the outermost shell, then it's then it's stable. So does oxygen right here in this molecule of carbon dioxide, does it have 8 electrons? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now even though this cross is for carbon, it is being shared with oxygen. So it does belong to oxygen as well. So this oxygen has 8 electrons, right? Similarly, carbon dioxide, it also has 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Carbon also has 8 electrons. So oxygen and carbon have gained stability. And similarly, this oxygen has also gained stability because it has 8 electrons in its outermost shell. तो अभी तक समझ आ गया कि कोवलेंट बॉन्डिंग कैसे होती है?
Yes.
जी.
Is it clear? Is it clear? Yeah. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब माहम आपको भी समझ आ गया? If you have any questions, please do
G.
ask. कुछ भी नहीं समझ? हाँ, ठीक है. Okay, perfect. So now we'll just go over some easy stuff. So we have properties of covalent molecules. So covalent compounds have very low melting and boiling points because they do not have free electrons, and that's why the electrostatic forces of attraction are practically non-existent. So they have very, very low intermolecular force, very low strength of intermolecular forces, and that's why they have low melting and boiling points. They tend to be volatile liquids because they have low melting points. What is the meaning of volatile? Maham, volatile क्या होता है? What do you understand by volatile?
I'm not sure.
Hmm. So volatile जो होता है ना, volatile is any substance which has a very low boiling point. ठीक है? यानी कि even if you keep it at room temperature, so that substance will rapidly evaporate. That's the volatile substance. Okay, so and they're also poor conductors of electricity. Covalent compounds are poor conductors of electricity and heat because they do not have free electrons, right? So all of their electrons are actually being shared. So that's why those electrons are not free to move, and that's why they cannot conduct electricity or heat very well, right? So that's all for the covalent bonding. We'll move on to the ionic bonding.